Here is the ugly truth. If a real pirate from Nassau in 1718 walked onto a Hollywood pirate set, he would not be impressed. He would not salute the skull flag. He would not grab the perfect silver sword. He would look at the giant spotless ship, the leather coat, the eyeliner, the parrot, the clean boots, the treasure map. Then he would ask one simple question: who is paying for all this nonsense? Because most of what your brain instantly reads as pirate is not real piracy. It is a costume made from theater, Victorian book art, Disney adventure novels, Halloween stores, and a few dirty pieces of actual history that got polished until the dirt was gone. Picture the pirate most people know in 1 second: a triangular hat, a bright sash, a heavy coat, a gold earring, a hook hand, a peg leg, a parrot yelling on one shoulder, a curved sword in one hand, a bottle of rum in the other, a huge black ship behind him, a chest of gold at his feet, a map with a big X on it. He says R because of course he does. Now strip that image down, not gently. Strip it down piece by piece until the whole thing stops looking romantic and starts looking practical. What is left is not a fantasy villain on a clean deck. What is left is a tired sea worker with stolen clothes, bogged teeth, raw hands, a short weapon, a loaded pistol that may or may not fire, wet canvas, rope, burns, smoke, and a crew that wants money fast before the Navy catches up. That is the real pirate problem for movies. Real pirates were not designed for the camera. Movie pirates are. The first lie is the outfit. Hollywood dresses pirates as if every crew had a brand manager. Same hat seam, boot seam, coat seam, little skull and bones energy. Everyone looks coordinated. Even the dirt looks planned. In Pirates of the Caribbean, every background pirate seems to know the dress code. In old Treasure Island art, every villain has the correct silhouette: big hat, coat, weapon, attitude. Real crews did not work that way. A pirate crew in the Golden Age was not a uniformed army. The main Western Golden Age runs roughly from the 1680s into the 1720s. The busy route goes through the Caribbean, the east coast of North America, West Africa, and the Indian Ocean. That world was not a floating fashion show. It was a labor system. Men climbed rigging, hauled rope, tapped canvas, pumped water lead barrels. In weapons, slept in cramped heat, sweated through linen, froze in wet wool, and stole anything useful from captured ships. Their clothes came from work, were price, and theft. A sailor needed loose trousers or breeches because tight fancy clothing was a pain on deck. He needed a shirt that could dry. He needed a jacket that could take spray. He needed a head covering because sun and rain were not decoration. He needed shoes when the deck demanded shoes. He went barefoot when bare feet made more sense. He wore what was available: a cheap shirt, a waistcoat, pair of slops, a wool cap, neckcloth, stolen coat, dead man's belt, a better buckle if he got lucky. That is the part movies hate. Real pirate clothing was random. One man might wear a plain sailor jacket. Another might wear a stolen gentleman coat because the prize ship had expensive luggage. Another might wear patched trousers because he had nothing else. Another might wear bright fabric because it was stolen cargo, and he wanted to look rich for one night in Nassau. And yes, some pirates dressed loud when they could. Bartholomew Roberts was famous for dressing with style. He was not the average deckhand. He was the exception people remembered because he stood out. That is how stereotypes are born. One loud real detail becomes the rule for everyone. Take the tricorn hat. Was it real in the period? Yes. Could a pirate wear one? Yes. Did every pirate wear one while swinging through rigging in a storm? No. A cocked hat could show status on land. It could appear in portraits. It could look great in an engraving. But on a working deck, a simple cap or scarf could be more useful. Hollywood picks the tricorn because the silhouette works instantly. The second you see it, you know the character category: pirate, villain, sea rogue, done. Now the peg leg and the hook. There is a cruel little truth here. Sea work was dangerous. Men lost eyes, hands, legs, emphors, and teeth. A ship was packed with moving rope, falling spars, iron tools, knives, cannon, recoil, disease, infection, and violence. So yes, men with serious injuries existed, wooden legs and crude prosthetics existed. But survival after major injury was not simple. A man with a missing leg was not automatically hopping across the deck with perfect balance while fighting 3 soldiers. He was dealing with pain, infection risk, limited mobility, and a crew that expected labor. The famous peg-leg pirate is mostly Long John Silver. Robert Louis Stevenson published Treasure Island in 1883. That book did more damage to pirate accuracy than any cannon. It gave the world a pirate shape, then stage versions, illustrations, and films repeated it until people confused the symbol with the source. So when a movie gives you a peg leg, a hook, a patch, a parrot, a tricorn, and a treasure map in the same frame, is not showing a normal pirate. It is stacking every recognizable signal into one body because the audience has to understand the character before he opens his mouth. Blackbeard is the one real figure who comes closest to theater. Edward Teach knew fear had value. The famous story says he tied slow-burning matches into his beard or under his hat before battle. That image matters because it shows how real pirates could use performance. Blackbeard wanted victims to surrender before the fight destroyed the prize, if terror saved ammunition and kept the cargo intact. Terror was practical. The second lie is the weapon. Movies love sword fights because sword fights are clean to follow. Two men face each other. Blades flash. Boots slide on. Salts fly. The hero ducks under the rail. The villain laughs. Somebody swings from a rope. And the whole fight has room to breathe. Real boarding fights did not have room to breathe. A ship deck during an attack was crowded, loud, wet, moving. Smoky, and full of things that could trip or kill a man. Coils of rope. Cannon and tackle. Broken spars. Bodies. Barrels. Hatch splinters. Dropped weapons. Spilled powder. Blood on boards. Smoke in the face. Men shouting in different accents. Officers trying to keep order. Victims trying to get below. Pirates trying to break control fast. This was not an elegant duel. It was a rush. The best pirate weapon was often the weapon that worked at short range with no ceremony. Pistols, muskets, blunderbusses, boarding axes. Knives, cutlasses, grenados, stink pots. Clubs, anything heavy, anything sharp, anything that could force surrender before the prize became useless. The cutlass was not a magic movie saber. It was a short, practical blade for cramped spaces. A long rapier looks great in a duel. It is less useful when you are shoulder to shoulder with men on a pitching deck. A cutlass can hack rope, threaten a prisoner strike in close quarters, and survive rough use. It is ugly work, not ballet. Pistols mattered because boarding distance was close. A pirate could carry more than one because reloading a flintlock in a fight was slow. Think about that for a second. A movie hero fires a pistol, then keeps dancing through the scene. In real life, after that shot, the pistol becomes a club unless the man has time and dry powder. So if you expected violence, you wanted multiple pistols ready. One shot, then another, then steel, then whatever your hand found next. Muskets and blunderbusses were not precision hero weapons. They were intimidation and close-range damage. A blunderbuss could throw shot across a packed deck. It was not subtle. It was not clean. It was there to make men duck, or quit. Then there were grenados, small explosive devices, rude, dangerous, and deeply unpleasant on a crowded ship. The Queen Anne's Revenge site has produced evidence of hand grenades and huge numbers of lead shot. That matters because archaeology cuts through movie romance. The wreck does not care about costume design. It gives you the hardware: cannon, shot, bar, shotgun parts, grenades, total, the physical stuff of force. Cannons in movies often exist to create huge explosions and dramatic broadsides. Real pirates usually did not want to sink a prize. A sunken ship is bad business. A burned cargo is bad business. A dead specialist is bad business if the crew needs a pilot. Pirates wanted surrender. They used cannon to scare silly shred sails, dematch rigging, drac morale, and prove that resistance would get worse. Bar shot and chain shot were nasty tools for rigging. Round shot could smash hull and deck. Small swivel guns could sweep men from exposed positions. Noise alone mattered. Imagine being a merchant sailor off the Bahamas in 1720. You see a fast sloop closing. The strange flag rises. A warning shot comes over. Men on the rail have muskets. The pirate captain does not need a grand speech. He needs you to understand the math. Fight and maybe die. Surrender and maybe live. Most ships surrendered if the pirate looked strong enough. That is not good cinema, so cinema forces the fight. A realistic pirate attack can end before the first blade touches. The pirate gives chase. The victim tries to run. The pirate fires at sails. The victim realizes the ship cannot escape. The captain consults officers. The crew panics because crewmen do not get paid enough to die for someone else's cargo. The flag comes down. The pirates board. The cargo is searched. Valuables are taken. Useful sailors may be pressured to join. The rest are robbed or released or abused depending on the crew and mood and situation. No giant duel, no perfect hero moment, just pressure. Fear, and a business transaction with weapons pointed at people. That is the part movies miss. Real piracy was not constant fighting. It was the threat of fighting. The third lie is the ship. Hollywood loves the giant pirate ship. Massive hull towerings, stern, indentless decks, bot-block sails, carved demons, lanterns everywhere. Cabins big enough for a dinner party. It looks fantastic. It also makes many real pirates look at the maintenance bill and walk away. Bigger is not automatically better at sea. A pirate vessel needed speed, less shallow draft, maneuverability, enough crew to board a prize, enough weapons to intimidate, and enough flexibility to hide in bays, inlets, and shoal water. That is why sloops were so useful in the Caribbean and along the American coast. A sloop could move fast, turn well, carry a surprising crew slip into shallow places, and chase merchant vessels that could not maneuver the same way. A giant ship looks powerful. A smaller fast vessel catches food money and cargo. This is where movies cheat visually. A sloop does not always fill the screen with drama. A huge three-masted ship does. A floating castle gives the villain scale. It gives the camera levels. It gives the poster a shape. But the pirate who wants to raid off Jamaica or the Bahamas may prefer something leaner and more practical. That does not mean big pirate ships never existed. Blackbeard's Queen Anne's Revenge was large and heavily armed after he captured the French slave ship La Concorde in 1717. He turned it into a flagship with many cannon. That was real. That was also not the everyday pirate standard. Blackbeard was building a reputation and a mobile threat platform. A big flagship helped him scare ports and ships. It also needed crew, supplies, maintenancement, and luck. And then in June 1718 it ran aground near Beaufort Inlet in North Carolina. That is a very unromantic ending for a legendary ship. Not swallowed by a sea monster, not dragged into a ghost world, not destroyed in a perfect final broadside under the moon. It grounded in shallow water near the Carolina coast. Then its remains sat underwater until modern recovery work brought up cannon and artifacts. Real ships were tools. They leaked, titted, smelled, carried rats, needed constant pumping, tarried spoiled food, and could become traps. The deck was not clean, the hold was worse. Bilge, stink, wet rope, fish, tar, smoke, gunpowder, livestock, disease, and cargo. If the movie Black Pearl smells theatrical, on real pirate ship smells operational. And the black sails? Great image, not normal. Sails were expensive working fabric. You did not casually dye every sail black for vibes. A pirate flag was enough. The flag did the speaking. Black flags existed. Red flags existed. Designs varied. A skull crossed bones, glasses, skeletons, Heart's weapons. The point was communication. Stop, surrender. Understand that this crew is outside normal protection. Again, Hollywood turns a signal into decoration. A real pirate approaching a merchantman might even use false colors first. He could fly a friendly or national flag to close distance. Then at the right moment, he raises the pirate flag. The victim realizes the mistake too late. That is better crime than sailing around with a permanent giant skull brand from dawn to dusk. A pirate who announces himself too early makes the chase harder. So the movie ship looks wrong because it is built for recognition. The real ship was built for work and crime. The fourth lie is treasure. The chest of gold is probably the most damaging pirate image ever made. It is so simple, a wooden chest. Gold coins, jewels, map, one red X. Maybe a skeleton nearby because someone had commitment problems. It works because buried treasure gives the story a goal. It turns piracy into a scavenger hunt. Tint the island, the clue. Dig under the palm tree, become rich. Real pirate loot was often much less cinematic and much more useful. Lugger, tobacco, digo, cloth, spices, medicine, toll, rope, sails, neef, alcohol, weapons, coins when lucky, jewelry when lucky. Navigational instruments, spare parts, cargo that could be sold, cargo that could keep the ship alive. Cargo that could be traded in a port where officials looked the other way. A pirate crew did not always want a chest. Sometimes it wanted flour, water, gunpowder, shoes, shirts, medicine, a ship carpenter. A sick, hungry crew cannot spend gold at the bottom of the sea. A useful barrel can matter more than a jewel. There is also a simple labor issue. Pirate loot was divided among the crew. The captain did not own everything by magic. Many pirate crews had articles, shares, compensation for injury, and systems that gave skilled men different portions. That means the captain burying all the treasure while everyone politely waits is absurd. Imagine telling 100 armed men who just risked death that the money is going into a hole and the captain will handle the map. That captain may not reach dinner. Captain Kidd is the one everyone brings up because he really did hide some treasure on Gardiner's Island near New York in 1699. That case matters because it is famous. But it became famous because it was unusual and useful to the story of his arrest and trial. The exception became the fantasy standard. Most pirates spent money quickly. Nassau, Port Royal, earlier small harbors, fence networks, taverns, brothels. Merchants who bought stolen goods, corrupt officials, anyone who could turn cargo into cash or supplies. A pirate was not planning a retirement portfolio. He was surviving a violent short career with the Navy behind him and disease around him. That is why the treasure map is funny. It is evidence. It is a written confession with a cartoon target. Real criminals do not usually label the crime scene for future children. But again, Micas need an object. A map is visual. Cargo accounting is not. A manifest of stolen sugar does not make a 12-year-old lean toward the screen. A red X does, so cinema chooses the map. The fifth law is pirate speech. The pirate voice most Americans know is not a preserved recording from a pirate deck. It is not the verified sound of Nassau in 1718. It is mainly a screen tradition. The big modern source is actor Robert Newton. In Disney Treasure Island in 1950, he played Long John Silver with an exaggerated West Country English accent. Then he played Blackbeard. Then he played Long John Silver again. The voice stuck, the R, the matey, the exaggerated rolling delivery. That became pirate speech because film repeated it until it felt ancient. Real pirates came from everywhere. English ports: London, Bristol, Liverpool, Plymouth, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, France, the Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, West Africa, the Caribbean, North American colonies, indigenous communities, enslaved and formerly enslaved populations, merchant ships, Danes, priestring crews, fishing towns, docks, plantations, prisons, and war. There was no single pirate accent. A pirate deck in the early 1700s could be linguistically messy. Men giving orders in different forms of English, men swearing in French, or Dutch men using sea terms from years of work. Men who barely understood each other but understood rope, guns, and danger. That is far more interesting than one universal cartoon voice. Captain Jack Sparrow works because Johnny Depp plays a symbol, not a dockside worker from 1718. Black Sails gets closer on politics and trade. Pirates of the Caribbean goes full myth and knows it. The danger starts when viewers treat myth as memory. The sixth lie is behavior. Movies often make pirates charming criminals with a code that is almost noble. They are rough and dangerous, but lovable. They rob empires, insult kings, drink rum, sing songs, Bach rules, and somehow feel more honest than the authorities. Real pirates could be democratic inside the crew and cruel outside it. That is the part that makes modern viewers uncomfortable. Some pirate ships had voting shares elected captain limits on captain power and compensation for wounds, compared with brutal merchant or naval discipline that could seem attractive to sailors who had been beaten and underpaid. A pirate crew could offer more voice to a working seaman than a legal ship did. But that did not make pirates heroes. They robbed people. They threatened crews. They tortured prisoners in some cases. They sold stolen goods. They took ships. They attacked trade routes. They sometimes sold enslaved people instead of freeing them. They used terror because terror worked. The old phrase "enemy of all mankind" existed for a reason. States used that language because pirates attacked outside normal war. But victims did not need legal theory. Victims saw armed men coming over the rail. This is where a movie often picks one side: pirate as freedom fighter or pirate as monster. The real answer is uglier. A pirate could be both a rebel against abusive maritime labor and a violent predator toward outsiders. The same man could vote fairly in the morning and beat a prisoner in the afternoon. That contradiction is not cinematic. It is human and unpleasant. Ask most people to imagine Nassau in 1718. A lot of them see a theme park. They should see a rough port full of sailors, smugglers, merchants, sex workers, deserters, escaped laborers, corrupt traders, hungry men, sick men, and armed crews looking for the next chance before governors and naval officers shut the place down. Starred in Nassau on New Providence in the Bahamas. In the early 1700s, it became a pirate base because the location was useful. Close to shipping lanes, full of shallow waters, hard for large naval vessels to control for fast small craft. From there a crew could move toward the Florida Straits, Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, the Carolinas, or the Gulf routes. Move north toward Charlestown. Now, Charleston, South Carolina. In May 1718, Blackbeard blockaded the harbor. That was not a romantic island treasure hunt. It was a hostage and supply operation. He needed medicine. He used fear to get it. That tells you more about real piracy than 1,000 treasure caves. A feared pirate captain using a maritime choke point to squeeze a colonial town for practical goods. Then move to Ocracoke Inlet in North Carolina. November 22, 1718. Blackbeard is cornered by Lieutenant Robert Maynard and men sent from Virginia. The final fight is close, confusing, and violent, not a polished duel on a sunset deck. A messy boarding action in shallow coastal water. Blackbeard dies. His head becomes a warning. The message is clear. The state wants the spectacle too. Now cross the Atlantic in your head. West Africa matters. Slave ships matter. Gold Coast routes matter. European trade matters. Move farther to the Indian Ocean and Madagascar. Some pirates worked the pirate round. They sailed from the Americas around Africa toward rich shipping linked to the Mughal Empire and the East India trade. That is where Henry Every shocked the world after the seizure of the Ganj-i-Sawai in 1695. That attack was not a cute tavern story. It created diplomatic pressure and panic because global trade and empire were involved. The eighth lie is the shipboard lifestyle. Movies give pirates endless rum because rum is funny. It gives background actors something to do. It gives the captain swagger. It makes the ship feel loose and wild. Real sailors drank, yes. Alcohol was part of maritime life. Rum mattered in the Caribbean. Beer and wine mattered elsewhere. Water spoiled. Rations were miserable. A drink could be safer than bad water, or at least more tolerable. But a ship could not function if every man was permanently drunk. Rope work does not forgive. Cannon do not forgive. Night watches do not forgive. Reefs do not forgive. A pirate ship needed discipline, not Navy discipline with polished uniforms and formal hierarchy. But working discipline, watches, repairs, lookout duty, ration control, wet and care, prize inspection, hull maintenance, navigation, steering, sail handling, cunning, punishment for theft from the crew, punishment for cowardice, punishment for bringing danger to the ship. This is why pirate codes matter. Not because pirates were noble, because armed criminals need rules when stuck together in a wooden machine surrounded by water. If everyone steals from everyone, the crew collapses. If the captain hoards shares, mutiny comes. If weapons are not maintained, the next prize kills them. If men fight on board whenever they want, the ship becomes useless. The ninth lie is the perfect villain captain. Pirate captains often have total power. The captain stands at the rail, speaks in a low voice. Everyone obeys. He owns the ship, owns the treasure, owns the crew. He kills anyone who questions him. Some real pirate captains had enormous influence. A successful captain with courage and navigation skill could become terrifying. Blackbeard, Bartholomew Roberts, Charles Vane, Samuel Bellamy. These men mattered because crews followed them and victims feared them. But pirate captain power was often limited by the crew. The captain could be elected. He could be removed. The quartermaster could represent crew interests and control shares. In battle, the captain had authority because battle needs decisions. Outside battle, he was not always a king. That makes movie captains wrong in a useful way. A dictator captain is easier to write. One villain voice. One motive. Real pirate leadership can be more political. The captain has to keep armed men satisfied. He has to find prizes. He has to avoid Navy patrols. He has to manage food, water, fear, and money. If he fails too long, the crew can turn. A real pirate captain is not just a man with a hat. He is a manager of criminals under pressure. The 10th lie is the noble duel. Real pirates did not care about giving you a fair scene. A boarding party wants advantage. Two men hold the target. One pistol appears from the side. Someone hits from behind. Smoke blinds half the deck. A prisoner is forced down. A hatch is blocked. A musket fires from a rail. A sailor trips on rope. A man begs. Another man searches pockets. The whole event is about control. If you are trying to take a ship, you do not want a beautiful duel. You want the enemy captain disarmed, the crew contained, the weapons secured, the powder room controlled, the helm watched, the holds searched, and your own men kept from destroying valuable cargo in the excitement. Piracy is ugly because it is practical. That is the central point of this whole video. The real thing is less romantic because it has work logic. Every detail asks the same question. Does this help the crew survive, catch prey, scare victims, stock goods, void law, and stay together one more week? Now let us test the classic pirate image again. Triangular hat possible not universals. Gold earring possible not a uniform. Parrot possible in rare cases not standard. Peg leg possible. But survival and mobility were serious problems. Hook hand possible prosthetic not common costume requirement. Eye patch possible injury. Weak evidence for the common dark adaptation story. Perfect saber duel. Mostly cinema. Giant black sailed ship mostly cinema with rare big ship exceptions. Buried treasure map. Mostly fiction with a few famous exceptions. Endless rum party. Exaggerated. One pirate accent fact screen tradition. Walking the plank mostly a later myth in popular memory. The truth is not that every movie detail is 100% invented. The truth is sharper. Movies take rare details, possible details, atrical details, and literary details. Then they compress all of it into one instantly readable costume. That is why the movie pirate always looks wrong. He is not a person. He is a pile of signals. And here is the twist. That does not make the movie pirate useless. The fake pirate works because viewers need speed. Cinema has seconds to tell you who someone is. A clean, accurate sailor outfit from 1710 may just read as old boat guy. Add tricorn sash cutlass, airing botblock flag. And suddenly, every viewer in America understands the category before the scene starts. Hollywood is not always lying by accident. A lot of the time it is translating. It translates labor into costume. Fare into swagger. Logistics into treasure. Mixed accents into smell ships into floating castles. Disease and hunger into rum jokes. And organized theft into adventure. The translation is fun, but it hides the danger. The real pirate world was not clean adventure. It was a hard maritime economy with violence attached. It was unemployed sailors after wars. Brutal merchant captains, price-daters without work. Colonial corruption. Weak law enforcement, rich cargo moving through predictable routes. And ports willing to buy stolen goods when the price was right. A pirate did not need to look iconic. He needed a target. That is why a real pirate raid could be terrifying without any of the movie costume. Imagine you are on a merchant vessel near the Bahamas in 1719, morning light humid air, slow cargo ship. You see a faster sloop behind you. At first the flag looks friendly. Then it changes. Men appear along the rail. Too many men for a normal trader. Weapons are visible. A cannon fires, not to sink you, to tell you the next shot can be worse. Your captain hesitates. Your crew knows the truth. The cargo belongs to owners far away. Your life is right here. The pirate ship closes. The deck goes quiet in the worst way. Nobody needs a parrot. Nobody needs eyeliner. Nobody says "R." The fear is already complete. That is the pirate movies cannot fully use. Quet pressure. Practical violence. Working men turning crime into a system. So next time you see a movie pirate with a perfect coat and a perfect sword on a perfect ship, not just laugh at the inaccuracy. Ride the costume. Ask what each piece is doing. The hat tells you category. The sword tells you danger. The parrot tells you old adventure fiction. The accent tells you Robert Newton. The map tells you Treasure Island. The black ship tells you cinema needs scale. The rum tells you the story wants chaos without explaining maritime rations. The clean dirt tells you the actor still has to look good. And behind all of that is the real thing. Smaller. Dirtier. Quieter. Practical. And far more dangerous. Because the scariest pirate was not the man who looked most pirate. It was the man whose ship reached yours before you understood what he was.